Hello and welcome to another quick episode of Do Hard Stuff. And I've got some easy stuff to do in introducing Eileen Day. Eileen, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing even better now that I'm with you, JW.
You know what? It's funny. I can count the number of people on one hand who, when I see them, they're always in a good mood. They're always upbeat. They're always smiling. They always have a good demeanor, and that's you. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, it wouldn't fill up a hand, and so it was funny. I got to tell you this little story. So this morning we had one of our coaching sessions. Actually, a guy out of South Africa, and he said, "Pick up something on your desk, and I want you to talk about it and relate it to something in your work life." So I grabbed this air conditioner controller.
Okay.
Which here in Costa Rica, they have the room units. And so I was like, well, that's me, because every day I get the opportunity when I walk in with a group of people, I get the opportunity to either turn up the air or turn down the air or turn up the temperature. And you do that when you come into a room. You're like that thermostat. You just raise the smiles in the room. So that's a compliment for sure.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. And even my dumb jokes that I'm the only one that laughs at them sometimes. But to me, that's important. As long as you're laughing at your own jokes and nothing else matters.
That's exactly right. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It's just what you think as well. So
you're smiling.
I asked this question. I mean, I know about you being an innovator in the DSO space and some of what you do with DM Score and also DVIN, but tell me, how did you get in this business? Because we're both about the same age. I think we graduated high school in 2017, both of us, somewhere in that general area. But tell me who you are and what you're doing, and just a little bit about who is Eileen.
Oh gosh, we need a lot longer to talk about Eileen. Eileen is I am almost always smiling, even when I'm alone, because I'm almost never alone. I've got a little mini zoo here in my house. So if there's anything to know about Eileen, is that she's in animal rescue, and a lot of them are called foster fails, that, you foster them and then you just never adopt them out. So you end up keeping them. So I have 5 dogs, 9 cats, and a bunny. So if you hear any noise behind me, then
it's one of those.
Swear it's not me. But so I'm in animal rescue, but professionally, I come from a SaaS world, digital marketing world. I spent a lot of time in automotive, but I also spent quite a bit of time in digital transformation space. And so all of that common thread is digital. So a lot of my background is digital, but I was never in dental. So
how did you do that? Because dental has been a recent conversion, right, to the industry. What made you make that leap? Because that's not easy to do. I mean, I've been in this way longer, 37 or so years. And I mean, it's about connections and relationships. And you've made a big impression early. How did you do that so easily?
Well, so I came from, like I said, I came from automotive, and I'm not sure if our CEO recognized that automotive and dental were so similar, but in just different stages of consolidation. Automotive went through consolidation, 15 years ago, and dental's going through it now. I'm not sure if he recognized that, but he did lure me away from the job I had before. It was in digital transformation and, making sure tech stacks, the data flow, happened within big, organizations like Pfizer and Harvard and NBC. So he lured me away from that world and said, hey, you want to come and scale a dental SaaS technology company that had to do with digital marketing. And I immediately was like, wow, challenge, exciting, different. And so here I am. I landed in Ken and Barbie world, is what I refer to dentistry, because everything just seems like it's pink and different and sparkly here. And it's not like the outside world. It's like, now I see why people never leave when they come in. But
True.
I came in and saw immediately, like what you just said, that relationships were key. And I had already recognized the power of social media, specifically LinkedIn, when it comes to professional relationships that you're growing. And so I just started messing around on LinkedIn and had a little bit of a strategy and started meeting people and started observing and following people. And I went to my first conference about a year ago in October, and started talking to more people in person about this industry and how difficult it was to sell to a DSO, because it was just different than anything I'd ever experienced. I build sales teams. I've been selling for 20 years, but I'd never experienced this type of selling model. And so I thought, well, gosh, I've been in this space all of a few months, and I have discovered that this traditional sales methods don't work here in Ken and Barbie world in dentistry. Yeah. So what do you do? Well, what are so many models that have succeeded? Do people do things on their own, or do they collectively learn from each other and then all grow together? That's my mindset. I'm of a shared growth mindset. So I just, that automatically was part of who I am. And I started asking people, what do you guys think about getting together and talking about this every week, instead of me talking to her and me talking to him and me talking to them? And then, none of us sharing all of our stuff collectively. What do you guys think? And several people were like, that's a good idea. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Then the engineer in me took over. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to do this, then I've got to have a list of people I'm going to invite. And then we're going to have a list of topics. And then we're going to, so I started forming DVIN, and I made the logo, not this one, this one, not that logo.
Right? It was different. I'm assuming it was different to start with.
It was, yes. It was a little, logo.com thing. But, I named it, and I used ChatGPT quite a bit. I'm kind of a, tech freak in that, way. And like, if you've got a tool, use it. So I used ChatGPT quite a bit to help me write the mission statement and get the topics. And because again, I wasn't familiar with this industry. So got a list of topics, and we had our first call. There were maybe 15 people on the call, but I was like, woo, 15
that's
people.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's still a lot.
I only had 50 members at that point. And so I thought, woohoo, okay, we're on to something. Then the next week we had more and more, and people started referring and just started snowballing. And then our mission statement turned into initiatives, right, that supported that mission.
So let me back up just a minute. So DVIN is basically a collective of vendors in the DSO space, right, who are now informally or formally collaborating to kind of look at best practices, which is interesting in the DSO space. I came from the equipment space early on in my career in dental, and nobody shared anything. Nobody shared nothing, right? You didn't share it with anybody. You kept it to yourself, try to make something happen. And I noticed in the DSO space specifically, maybe not the dentist space, but specifically the DSO space, when you look at organizations like DEO who collaborate and bring people together, right? And they literally are sharing financials and sharing best practices, and here's how I did it. And so I think that's really unique to an industry, is where people really collaborate and not worried about somebody stealing their information or their ideas. So it sounds like you've done that. You've brought those vendors together to talk about, I'm assuming, events and everything in the industry. Is that right?
We do. Yes. We talk about a lot of different things that support the mission. So the mission, in very simple terms, is to bridge the gap between DSOs and vendors, because that's one of the first things that I saw was, good golly, these DSOs don't even know all the vendors that are in the industry unless they go to an event, right? And I was at an event when I realized this, and I'm like, and then I don't see really the vendors collaborating, and I even see the tables not arranged in a way. So the engineer in me just started going, something's broken in this. So I start taking it all apart, and that's what I do. I fix stuff. So I saw that there was a gap in many ways between DSOs and vendors. Okay, so there's a gap in, they don't know where all the vendors are listed. So I'm like, well, we'll just we'll just build a website then. Simple, right? We'll just build a website with all the vendors listed on it. Okay, check. And another initiative was to have weekly calls where we share insights on what is a DSO, the different kinds of DSOs, the different types of sales processes, the sales cycle length, very sales related, how to do social media, all of those kind of things. And that was of that shared mindset type of thing. And within that, we started forming really popular subjects that would bring the DSOs into the conversation. And so now we have an Ask the DSO call where we have the DSOs come and actually talk to the vendors, and the vendors can ask them questions. They don't pitch them. They just ask questions about their specific, like today, technology is the subject. So we're fostering that collaboration with the DSOs by inviting them to the calls and getting their insights and opinions and struggles. Everybody, like you talked about DEO and all of those great organizations that focus on the DSO side and what they're doing right. Here are your best practices for growing a DSO. Nobody talks about, well, what are you having problems with then, right? What are you struggling with that we can help with as vendors? We need to have that conversation over and over and over with DSOs. So we invite them to the calls. And then we said, well, let's have a podcast. So we're building up a podcast, and we've recorded a few DSOs. So we're going to have a podcast where we talk about the problems, and then we have vendors come on in a different recorded segment and talk about the solution that they might have that solves that problem. So we're going to have that. And we did a DSO survey as well, that the voice of the DSO, so that they could answer some of those questions, just little initiatives, like I said, to support that mission, to foster the collaboration between vendors and DSOs. So that's what we're doing. And we've been asked on to panel discussions at events, and we have get-togethers at events. And we also are now having workshops at events. We're being asked to conduct workshops for vendors at events. So
how many current vendors are in your organization now?
We have almost 340 members, and
Wow.
that makes up almost 300 vendors in the space. And we're growing. It's all grassroots. So it's not, we haven't even really tried yet beyond my initial, outreach to my friends, I think it was, at first I asked 50 people, and then I made it go up to 100. And since that first 100, I haven't had to ask anybody. I just keep getting.
And I think there's only been one person who was banished from the DVIN. Isn't that correct? Wasn't it Santosh Patel is the only one who was completely banished from the organization?
Yeah, he's not allowed to show his face, his green face up in here.
He wins that guacamole contest, and buddy, you're out of this group.
No, he's going to be like, look, see, they talk about me all the time. I am the king.
Oh my gosh. Let's cut this out. I'm going to back up to 37 seconds. And his head wouldn't fit on the screen. Goodness gracious. Well, that's interesting. I mean,
that's a good example though of the camaraderie that goes on within DVIN. That wasn't really, it was there on a smaller scale, but now when you go to a DSO event, there is a big gang of us and we're all hanging out. We all know each other because we have our shirts on and we have our pins on, or we've seen each other on the calls, or now we're doing partnerships and collaboration. The camaraderie that is now, if nothing else ever comes out of DVIN, the camaraderie that has come out of us doing this for the last 8-9 months has really been worth it all. I met you, right?
Yeah. Well, hey, look at there. Yeah.
So many wonderful people.
Well, and it's interesting because, all businesses to some extent, for those who are starting a business or trying to grow their business, it is about being present. Using Santosh as example, I mean, you didn't show up at a DSO event that Santosh wasn't there, right? I mean, he was there mingling and hanging out, and so. Yeah, I think when people learn about networking, and I think that's why it's so important for your DVIN. I just want to say Divin. For Divin to understand and have the importance of organizations like that. But hey, look, so tell me a little bit about what DM Score does, because that's completely different, right? That's a separate
Yeah.
organization as well.
My struggles at DM Score are what led me to create DVIN. So I really, do owe, that experience. And again, some people might take that as a negative, where I came in and just didn't know what to do. Well, look what happened. Because of my struggles, I created something that actually helped the industry and my friends and organizations. But I'm also helping my efforts at DM Score. So DM Score is a digital marketing SaaS technology that measures. It's like a scorecard, like a FICO score, but for digital marketing. Whereas FICO measured creditworthiness, right? So FICO is actually on our board. They're co-founders, but they said, okay, let's apply the FICO concept to digital marketing because there are so many different tools out there to measure. Are you showing up on Google? Are you showing up in Maps? Are you running PPC ads? How effective are they? How often are you showing up? And what order are you in? Are you in 10th place? Are you in first place? Are you in 100th place? Those search engines out there, there are so many ways to measure how visible you are that it's overwhelming just to do it for one practice, much less 10, 15, 20. And you would know with your outsourcing at support how the labor shortage is just affecting, it affects EBITDA of these DSOs. It's that profoundly affecting the same store growth of these DSOs. And so the efforts in marketing that go into measuring 50 locations, it's impossible to do. Many times it's one person. So we've created not only a platform that pulls out all those data points that are publicly available, you just have to, pay for them. You pay for the API or pay for a license, but we collect all those data points for each single practice, right? And then we built a platform that we kind of put all that data into. It's like a Willy Wonka chocolate factory. And you put it all in there, and then it parses them out into PPC, SEO, and directories. And then it gives them each a score, and then it bubbles those three categories up to one score. So imagine having one score for your location to give you that idea. Let's like FICO. Do I need to, does it suck? Or, am I good? Should I go buy a house? Should I go buy a car? Or do I need to work on my stuff first? Then if that score tells you instantly, right? If you've got a 500 credit score, instantly you say, I got to work on it, right? So with the DM score, if you have, it's between 1 and 100. If you have a certain score, you can go, okay, that's not a great score. I don't need to know math to do that. I don't need to dig into any reports to do that. What do I need to work on? And then that's when they can go into those categories that drive that visibility, which is PPC, SEO, and directories. So they can drill down if they want, or a CEO can just look at their scores across their enterprise now and see the scores and go, okay, I'll check in next month and see how the scores are doing. So it can be as simple as a CEO doing that on an enterprise level, or it can be the marketing team actually drilling down and going, okay, this practice, these are our 10 worst practices. And where do they need to work? Well, these 3 need to work on directories, and these 3 need to work on PPC, and this one needs to work on both SEO and directories, right? So we tell them instantly, and we didn't dig into a single report.
Wow.
So that's the power of data. And so what DM Score does really has nothing to do with DVIN. However, the fact that nobody, it's a new technology. Nobody knew us. We're not dental owned, dentist owned. We haven't been in the space. We're newcomers. So, we didn't realize that, we had built a really big mountain in front of us. And so, my struggles at DM Score are what created, my DVIN activities. And so now through all of the insight that I've gotten collectively from all my colleagues at DVIN, I've applied to DM Score. And now we've got people begging to get in our pilot program that we're launching here next week. the platform's already been up and running, but we have been, trying to get users, and now we're beta testing Ada, which is our AI, generative AI capabilities to take all that data and go, okay, what does that mean? It's like your virtual advisor. Like if you had RCM, like, pulling all that data and having this beautiful report, you sometimes need to be a mathematician to figure out what it says. But what we did is we downloaded all the data again, and then we fed it into ChatGPT, and we built ChatGPT into our platform, and paid them to get that API in there and engineered the prompts. And so now all you have to do is press a button and you get a report that says, okay, what do all these numbers mean? And so it's really cool. It's an Ada report. And so that's why her name is Ada, AIDA. AI Descriptive Analytics is why her name is Ada.
And so I'm assuming that's serving from small to large sizes, right? Whether you're a 2 or 3 office DSO, or if you're an elite with 100, obviously this data is important across the board.
Absolutely. And not only that, but we have multiple use cases for DM Score. A marketing agency can use it to be transparent with their clients, or they can use it to prospect. Here are your scores. We can make them better, and we're not even measuring it. This is an agnostic tool to use. Or they can use it to upsell people that are on really low SEO packages, for example. Hey, if we upgrade you to this package, you can see how much better we're doing by using this tracking tool. So marketing agencies, M&A teams, consultants can go look in the Austin area and look at all the dental practices and their scores. And those that have the low scores indicate that they're not really trying so hard, right?
Wow.
So those could be possible acquisition targets, or they could use it in their valuation process. Okay, we're looking at these practices. Let's go see how visible they are to see how much we're going to have to invest. Once the integration takes place, how much are we going to have to invest on the front end? So yeah, we have use cases.
Well, that's I mean, kind of coming back full circle to what you're talking about. I mean, it's interesting. I'm sure the owners or the shareholders of DM Score were quite happy with you kicking off the DVIN. I got to call that Devon. I'm just going to say Devon.
You can call it whatever you want.
Just put a little E underneath, and I'll call it Devon. I keep wanting to say Devan. My
some people were saying
Divine.
When we were talking about what to call it, they were going, let's call it Divine.
I like that. Just put a little small E at the end. We'll say, well, we're pretty dadgum good. Yeah. But I'm pretty impressed. I mean, what you've done in transitioning from the automotive space to the dental industry, which that was in 2022. Is that right? So really recent. And and FYI, it's only 2023. Just so you know, it's not like this has been a long time. And after seeing you light up a room, I would have thought that you had been in the dental space for 25 years. And so I learn more on these things than anybody. But it's not easy, is it? Right? I mean, even setting up. Well, you've really been a part of two things, right? You're helping scale DM Score, but at the same time, you're integrating what you're doing at Divine, or Divin, and you're so really, how hard is that? I think when people, I've been fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know which it is, to really kick off a lot of businesses, and I always tell people most of them failed. So people are always like, "Oh, you're just so great with it." I'm like, no. There's a lot of failure in there, which I think is important. And but talk about how difficult it is because you've done a good job of it in a really short period of time. I'm really impressed. How did you get through those barriers? Because it is a little bit of a boys club, if you will, right? I mean, it's kind of who you know, what you know. And I'm not going to say people aren't open to meeting new people, but there's cliques and there's groups and there's just things that come in. So how hard was that to make an impact or to get involved, I guess I should say?
Well, I'm one of those people that tries to use positive words instead of bad words. And I don't even see, I just said bad. So I just broke my own rule. But hard stuff I consider a challenge. Like, oh, you're saying I can't do it, right? Don't tell me I can't do something, because that's Eileen. I will rise to that challenge. So that's why I didn't give up and just go, oh, okay, I'm not going to keep this job. I'm going to go find another one. I said,
Yeah.
okay, how can, I come up with solutions. And so to me, it's not hard. They're just challenges. Like, you and I, before we started recording, we were talking about life has its challenges, whether you're a business owner or not. You're going to have hard stuff happen to you no matter what you're doing in life. So, they're just different, right? Some are more complex than others. Some include other people really relying on you more than others, but they're all difficult challenges. And so we're all facing them. So you can't run away from that, period. So I face them head on. And, the hard thing about DM score, because I got to use your word for your cool sign up there. The hard stuff about DM score was educating and getting in with DSOs, which, like you said, it can be very clicky. But what I found out through DVIN and through talking to DSOs and talking to other vendors that had either, really been successful, or some had come over, from the DSO side and shared a ton of insights. So what I quickly started realizing was that there are 3 R's to succeeding in this industry. Vendors have created some of the problems in the industry, admittedly, not all of them, but some of them, by not being, in this world of consolidation that the DSOs are in. There's a influx of vendors that are unknown, except for whether they're at an event or whether they're referred to, or those are about the only 2 ways that a DSO will find out about a vendor. They don't answer emails. They don't like cold calling, right? So that's not how to get your name in front of them. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, as a salesperson, how do I get in front of them then? Well, it's the 3 R's. Relationships, or reputation first. Build your reputation. Make sure there's a presence on LinkedIn. Make sure people know, if they do hear about you, that when they go to your profile or your company's profile, they can find out about you, or your website. Those are 3 places you should make sure that you've got your your reputation visible for anyone to learn about you by just reading one of those 3 places. And then build relationships in the industry. That's what I did with DVN. I built a ton of relationships, and with both DSOs and vendors. And then through that, you mentioned referrals. Referrals is the 3rd R. Sorry, that's my mama dog. Referrals are the 3rd R. Once you build your reputation, once you build those relationships, then the referrals naturally start happening. And that's really what happened on a bigger scale with DM Score. Was I started getting introduced, like, oh my gosh, like, what do you do, Eileen? I didn't have to tell people, hey, I work at DM Score. People would be naturally curious and look at my profile and go, what is DM Score? What is ADA? And they'd ask me about it, right? It's almost like the vampire rule. Wait till they ask you. Don't tell. Wait till they ask. Wait till they're interested enough about you to see what you do. But the way that happens is through referrals. If you're standing with someone at an event, or you see them on a call, or you just know that they work with the DSO and you've become friends with them, and then they find out what you do and you're like, oh my gosh, they could really use this. And then they refer you over. So there are a lot of different ways that you can get referred in this industry. And that is really the gold mine in this industry. That's the trusted way to do it. And so again, we use those 3 R's kind of in all of our, our mindset and our initiatives. We use those 3 R's and try to encourage that among the vendors and teach them how to do that, because a lot don't know. A lot of people don't know. Like, what do I do on LinkedIn? You got Charles Moser. You got Charles Moser posting pictures of his forehead out there on LinkedIn.
And he tells you, this is my forehead.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's interesting because, and I always think there's a 4th one to that. I think results. People want to see, are you results driven, right? And then tell me what you really do. But it's interesting because you're right. I mean, there's a wide variety of things you can do, and whether you're, posting every 10 minutes on LinkedIn, or whether you're on social media or Facebook or whatever it is, right? You are working on building that trust factor, but you do have to get in there and network. You gotta, as I say, you can't be salesy. You need to educate people. We try to spend most of our time at Support DDS educating people on what does it mean to insource. What's the difference in insource, outsource? What's the difference in onshore, offshore, nearshore? And how do you leverage these? You can't just grab somebody and throw them in there. There's some tried and true ways. So. But you're right. I think in this industry, and I've not been in a lot of industries, not that privy, but man, you talk all about relationships. It definitely is about relationships. And that's not easy. That means we were talking about this earlier about being in business for yourself. Some days I don't want to go to the conference, right? I mean, I don't want to go mingle with people for 7 hours and then have to go to
Or you cocoon yourself afterwards.
Yeah, you're just like, man, I mean, but sometimes you wake up in the morning, but to me, that's some of the hard stuff we do, right? I mean, you wake up in the morning like, oh, I got to be at that conference all day today. And you're like, I got to put my face on because it's what I do. Yeah. And then you do it and you feel great and, things work out and it is who you are. Yeah.
It's like exercising.
Just get to the gym. Yeah. Just first thing is just get to the gym. That's the first start.
Do it.
Well, Eileen, this has been a super pleasure. And, I got to know a lot about you, and we see each other, we laugh, we take our selfies, and we have fun. But now I know what the divine divan DVIN. I got it down.
You do. You really do. You're going to be our ambassador.
I'm ready. Hey, well, Eileen, it's been a pleasure, and I know the year is a couple of small events for the rest of the year, but the year is kind of winding up. But hey, January we hit the ground running again, right?
You do. I'll probably see you at Yankee. I'll bet you it'll be the next place I see you.
The next big event, yes, ma'am. Well, listen, it was great, and I'm excited for you. And you're an inspiration to me and others, just because literally the smile doesn't go away. So we appreciate you and what you're doing in the industry too.
Thank you, and same goes for you. I reciprocate all of that good wishes, mushy stuff. I love it.
Okay, well, hey, listen. Remember, sometimes you gotta do the hard stuff to get the good stuff. So don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail. I read just again today, and I love this. It says failure is the price of admission to success. So don't be afraid to fail. Get up and do it again. So have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening in to Miss Eileen Day as well.
Thank you, JW. You have a great day. Enjoy the